Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Unapologetically Loving Myself. My name's Annemarie. So if you're here for the first time, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. And I hope you've been getting some benefit. And so this channel is all about validating and supporting and encouraging and guiding anyone who is navigating toxic or narcissistic relationships and who need a bit of support. And so I hope to build this channel. So I've just come out of retirement not so long ago, and I'm basically rebuilding my whole life after coming out of a 23-year toxic relationship, and didn't know towards the end, the last few years, that it was actually narcissistic nature, and I needed to get lots of therapy to understand what I was dealing with, lots of research, lots of inner healing. Lots of inner healing. It was the most painful part of my story, but I've been working very hard on changing my inner story. So today I wanted to talk about changing our belief systems as a means to change our story, because we can't change our story. We're going to keep attracting the same kind of toxic energy if I don't change what I believe about myself. So if you're anything like I was, because that was my old story, and when I say old story, I'm still constantly tweaking it, of not being enough. And so I was a chronic people pleaser, and I was a chronic rescuer, and always at the detriment of my own health and well-being, not knowing that it was a form of enabling, because it was actually rewarding those who were taking advantage of my kindness, of my forgiving nature, and always wanting to build bridges, not realizing, well, I did kind of realize, I did call certain people out, especially my ex, for always looking for exits. But I didn't realize just how many bridges I was building to keep making it work, and not understanding cognitive dissonance at that point. So recognizing our own inner beauty as a means to change our old belief systems, because our old belief systems are all made up based on whatever traumas we've experienced. We've all experienced trauma in some form. And trauma comes from the Greek word meaning wound. So we all have some gaping wounds, childhood wounds underneath. And so there's a lot of wounded adults walking around the earth, and we're all trying to play grown up, and we're all trying to have these relationships, but we're all bringing our baggage with us. So if I want to not attract that, whether it's romantically, whether it's friendships, whether it's work, neighbors, family, whoever, if I don't want to keep attracting that same kind of hurtful and toxic energy towards me, I need to change the way I think and believe, what I believe about myself. Because even if I say, oh, I'm fine, but if deep down I believe that I'm not enough, I'm going to always put other people before me. And others are quite happy to take advantage of that. And remembering that that's their role, then I don't take it so personal, but I realize that, okay, they're there to show me what I need to heal within myself. Because otherwise others will keep weaponizing my own wounds against me. And if you're a little bit naive because I didn't realize how naive I was. I always thought of it as an innocent, believing that just because I wouldn't deliberately poke someone else's wounds, doesn't mean that others won't weaponize mine against me. And if you're an open book like I was, again, naive, not even thinking that, if you share your vulnerabilities, others are gathering information so that they can use that against you, when things go pear-shaped. And if you're dealing with someone who is not willing to heal their own childhood wounds, and they're going to keep blaming you. And if you're a people pleaser like I was, then, like I said, others are quite happy to keep making you believe that you're the problem. And for a long time, I truly believed it. So I was constantly shifting myself, constantly shrinking myself, constantly twisting myself into something that I wasn't, just to make the story fit, just to keep someone else happy. And I can't keep diminishing my own light. Because of someone else's process of healing. Okay, I can't keep diminishing my own light and hold myself back to not leave someone behind. Okay, especially if we have a deep love for this person or people or persons, but others will keep taking advantage of that, and I need to heal my own wound so that others can't. So that's about setting boundaries. So when I change my beliefs, and that takes practice, because if I've believed most of my life that I'm not enough, and that's come from some kind of defense mechanism, because people pleasing is a trauma response. It was a way to feel safe growing up. And this isn't about blaming anyone. This is about recognizing where I started my pattern, and where I started to believe that showing up as my authentic self wasn't enough, because I got, you get punished for that rather than rewarded. So you learn very quickly. And most of us have, from the age of 8 or 9, we learn to do or have what others want us to do or have, instead of to just be ourselves. I might have mentioned this in one of the other videos. You will notice sometimes I will say the same things, because it's all so intricate and it's all so enmeshed. So certain things will come up a lot because it's things that I've really had to learn, being such a chronic people pleaser, and not understanding that was a trauma response. And even though I've known for a long time I've got to change my own belief system, but I didn't quite know how to. And every time I thought I had, and I started to shine my light again, I would attract the same stuff. And it got more and more subtle over the years. And that's the tricky part. That's the shadows. We all have our blind spots, and there's light and dark in the world, and it's the role of the darkness to keep us in the dark. So it becomes more and more tricky, more and more deceptive, and you don't even know anymore what's your stuff, what's someone else's stuff, and you don't even know anymore if you've actually healed it or not until you're faced with it, until you're confronted with it, and then you go, oh, damn, I'm there again. Right? I've attracted someone else who's abusing my kindness or my love or my forgiving nature or whatever it may be. So that doesn't mean don't ever lose your love. Don't ever lose your forgiving nature. But we just have to learn to contain that and to maintain that with our boundaries. And I'm not talking about, often when we think of setting boundaries, we think, oh, okay, right? So even that action that I'm doing, can you see how I'm blocking myself in now? Rather than working on my inner light and shining outwards, And I always think of a lighthouse. You know, a lighthouse brings others to safety, but you can't get too close because it's too bright. So the more I dial up my inner light, the more I keep turning inward and work on my inner light as my boundary, because that becomes my boundary. But can you see the difference? Rather than think of this, setting my boundaries, this is my boundary. Okay, and it becomes a bit more open and freeing, and it gives me the opportunity to keep stepping out and keep my heart open and keep spreading my love into the world, because instead of doing this, which then it blocks me and it blocks the world, when I'm filling myself up and I'm strengthening my inner light and shining that outward, that gives me the courage and the strength to step out of my comfort zone and to keep my heart open. Because unfortunately, with toxic and narcissistic relationships, our heart becomes closed because it shrivels up and dies because it hurts. It hurts so bad that you don't ever want to open your heart again. But all we're doing is letting someone else win. And then I become part of the problem in the world. I become part of that darkness because they've won in making me shrink my light, dim my own light, diminish my own power. And that's not what the divine wants for us. The divine wants us to keep shining, but we have to surrender, which is part of setting our boundaries, which is part of shifting our belief system, which is part of changing the way I think and talk to myself. That, you know, we all have these inner scripts going on based on what we believe. And if I keep telling myself I'm not enough, I always attract toxic people. Why do I keep attracting these people that just keep taking advantage of me? I'm a good person. Why does this keep happening to me? We only accept into our life what we accept about ourselves. So no matter how much I rant and rave and think to myself, why can't I be respected? Because if I'm allowing that toxic in, I'm not respecting myself. And so my light has dimmed, and so they can encroach more and more and more and more into my space. And I shrink. Can you see how easily that can happen? And if you're used to doing that and allowing others to keep pushing their agenda onto you, and each time you try and speak up, they just shut you down, or they censor you, or they and then they make you believe that, I want to have this relationship. It doesn't matter who it is, whether it's a partner, a friend, a child, a parent, a sister, brother. They want you to believe that they want to have this relationship, but it's a very one-sided relationship. And so they're happy with the relationship as long as you keep showing up according to what fits in their perception. Okay, and as a powerful, beautiful soul, once I understand who I truly am, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to be the martyr and carry the burden of everyone else, because others are quite happy for you to carry it, even if they tell you that, oh no, that's not what I'm doing, and they truly believe it, right? Because if we're not careful, we start believing our own lies, because all our belief systems are something that we've made up along the way to fit in, because the conscious mind, the rational mind, is not always rational. It rationalizes things to fit. Okay, so as a hypnotherapist, the power is being able to get people into a state where the rational mind can kind of step out the way, so that I can work with the subconscious mind and reprogram the subconscious mind to remind them of who they truly are, right? All this other stuff is programming, negative programming, limiting programming. And we've believed it, and then we've made up our own lies about ourselves and about others, and so have they, right? But if I'm honest and willing to change it, then I need to be around other souls who are aligning with that honesty. If others don't want to look within themselves to make their changes, that's okay. We don't need to judge that. But we have the permission, we have the right to step back from it. You know, we can't force others to look at their own shadows, their own blind spots. If they don't want to see it, that's okay. But I have the right to step away from it then, because I want to work on and heal my own shadow sides. I want to work and heal on my own blind spots. That's how we change our belief systems. Okay? And so those who are used to getting their way will find those who will enable them. And I was an enabler. There's enablers where people just... There's two types of enablers. There's the enabler, and neither are okay, but there's the enablers who will... I don't know what's going on there. Just something really weird happened on my screen then. I had all these lights, like what do you call it? New Year's Eve. All these sparklers, all these fireworks going off. That was weird. Haven't seen that before. Okay, I lost my train of thought now. Where was I? Totally lost my train of thought. That was quite interesting. That was quite pretty, actually. But anyway, it's really about recognizing my own belief system and not trying to fix or change others. But part of the healing and part of me setting my boundaries is to fix and heal me. That's it. That's my only responsibility. That's my right. And so that's how I change my belief system. That's how I change the way I think, and that's how I change the way I talk to myself. We all talk to ourselves. People often laugh at me when I'm taking classes and I say, learn to talk to yourself nicely. And they laugh and I go, well, who doesn't talk to themselves? And not one person can put their hand up, because everyone talks to themselves, but it's usually negative, based on our old negative belief system. And so part of setting the boundary, because part of setting our boundary is to change the way we think, so that we can change our belief system, so that we can keep shining bright. Otherwise, life is going to keep stinging, and life can sting enough at times. Let's not give it permission to sting me any more than it needs to. Okay, because unfortunately there's a lot of souls every single soul is being challenged to step into their power. Every single soul there's over 8 billion souls now, is being invited to step into their power. But that means I have to change and heal my old stuff. I can't do it for anyone else, and no one can do it for me. So I need to be okay to step away from certain souls until they're willing to be honest enough to go, okay, let's do this together. And then we have to do it honestly together, okay? Putting ourselves out there to say, okay, let's sort this, put it all on the table. If others don't want to accept that because, well, maybe they're just not ready to look at their own stuff. Maybe it's easier to blame you. But you know what? I'm done. I'm done being blamed for everyone else's unhealed stuff. I've got enough of my own unhealed stuff that I need to work on. Let me not continue to be the martyr, and let me recognize my shadow sides so that I can heal and let go, and really live in my worth. Because true self-respect means knowing my own worth and living my life accordingly. Because anything less, I will be deceiving myself. Okay, and when I'm deceiving myself, others will have no problems deceiving me, even if they do it, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. In a lot of cases, people are doing it unconsciously because they haven't even recognized, call it arrogance, call it ignorance, whatever you want to call it. People aren't ready. And this can be your own family, this can be your own children, this can be your own parents, your own siblings, your partners, your husband, your wife. It can be incredibly painful. And then having to make a decision to step away if they're not willing to meet you in the middle. Incredibly painful. But nonetheless, we need to surrender. We need to let go, because otherwise we force the situation instead of allowing the divine, the universe, whoever you believe in, right? For me, it's God, and I'm getting comfortable with saying that these days. But whoever you feel comfortable, whoever you ascribe to, remember that they're coming through you, and you are merely the instrument. And when I say merely, you are the most powerful instrument. But it's merely in the sense that, our arrogance has to go to think that we're doing all this. We're doing all the destructive part from ignorance and arrogance, and the healing part is when we are honest and humble enough to recognize that I can't do it alone. And so it's such a beautiful realization, such a powerful realization, because then I can work in collaboration with the divine, and I can remember to stop and play and enjoy life. And it doesn't have to be all about hard work, physical hard work, external hard work, and internal hard work. Often people give up because it's just too painful. Because as soon as, there's a saying, we heal what we feel. So we have to learn to sit in that discomfort as it comes up, because we've been burying it and pushing it down and distracting ourselves, being busy for so long that we don't even know what's in there anymore. So if someone shows up with their internal light shining, it's only going to expose your shadows or someone else's shadows, and that's when they will see you as a threat. Okay, and that's when they will flip the tables. That's when they will project outward and make you believe. And if you're not strong enough, then you're going to take all those old beliefs of not being enough, and then we're going to keep attracting narcissistic people, entitled people, unhealed people into our life. And if we are healers in particular, because we've taken that role on, it's such a beautiful and powerful role, but we can't help anyone until we fill ourselves up first. Okay, so I hope that gave you a little bit of an insight of having to change our beliefs and recognizing that the only way we can see clearly is to take the rose-colored glasses off. And that can prove difficult if I don't change the way I believe, what I believe about myself. Excuse me. Stuff's clearing as we speak. And we have to learn to, the old saying, learn to dance to the beat of your own drum, sing your own song. it's okay to be different. I've always been different. And I did appreciate it. Every time I go through some healing, I go back to really appreciating it. And then all of a sudden I'm back caught in that quagmire of toxic behaviors and, someone's toxic behaviors and my toxic reactions to it, because you become so inflamed. And towards the end of my relationship, like 23 years of it, and it just got more and more cruel and more toxic and more controlling and almost a dictatorship. And so your alarm system, your adrenals, your cortisol levels are just on the rise the whole time, which creates a sickness in the body as well, and it honestly it pushes you to the brink of insanity. So don't give them that power. Keep turning inward, keep working on yourself, keep healing yourself, keep letting go, so that you can keep strengthening and dialing up your inner light and keep lifting your own frequency. And we have to be okay to leave others behind. I know that's a very painful realization. We have to make some very painful choices. But, it took me a long time to realize that part of me keeping myself small was every time I wanted to empower myself and lift my understanding and keep going, ascending, because we all have to ascend spiritually. We all have to transform. And when others in my life would only show a little bit of that transformation and then go back to the old ways, I would often then give up on my stuff to save them. And it was also a way to not make the gap too big, because otherwise I would have to make the decision to leave, which at the end I had to do anyway. Well, I kind of got pushed out. I was abandoned, and because I've been abandoning myself all this time. And the sad part is, the smear campaign was so cruel, because the smear campaign was that I abandoned him. And yeah, anyway, I'm sure most of you understand. If you've been through this or you're going through it, you will understand that push and pull and how easy they can turn around and blame and really believe it. They start believing their own lies, which is really scary. And I get it, because their whole life has been built on lies. And if it's like a house of cards, if they admit to one, then everything has to crumble down. Okay, and we came close to healing, I thought, and that was the most confronting and painful realization, that it wasn't real, because he had me believing that he was willing to let the house of cards crumble to heal. But then the second it got too close to home, up came the walls and I was the bad guy again. So, and again, if you're not healing your beliefs, your stuff, your wounds, then you're going to keep, whether it's this person or this person, you're going to keep it. I always say, different faces, different places, same stuff, same unhealed stuff in me. So let me learn to sit in it as it comes up. Because we get so busy, we get so distracted that because we don't want to deal with when it comes, because it's going to be uncomfortable as it comes up. It's almost painful as it comes up. But as I said earlier, feel to heal. So I have to learn to sit in it and breathe it out. Okay, sit in it, breathe it out. I'm not talking about wallowing in it, going, oh, poor me, oh, go down spiral. I'm talking about, oh, okay, I want to heal this stuff, and there's one uncomfortable realization or memory or whatever it might be, right? That'll come up. And rather than push it down by getting busy, let me just go, okay, let me breathe it out and breathe it out and breathe it out until it passes, because it does pass. It has to pass, it will pass. Okay, and doesn't mean that it's healed straight away, because if I've been doing this for, I'm 65, if I've been doing that most of my life, and if we believe in past lives, how many other lives have I been doing it? Okay, but let's say just in this life alone. So I can't expect it to heal in a matter of days, weeks or months if I've been doing this for years. Okay, so a little bit comes out, and then next time a little bit more, next time a little bit more. Some of us, if you're fortunate enough, you're able to let it go all at once. Majority, 99% of the people in the world can't. So if you're the 1%, I bow to you and I wish you well, and I think that's amazing. But most of us would be lying to ourselves if we said that was true. All right. So I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you got some benefit from that. And just remember, the more you feel, the more you heal. And that's when your true, beautiful jewels come out, shining outward. That automatically sets your boundaries, because you start respecting yourself. You start living a life that's aligned with your true self-worth, not with your ego self, but with your spiritual self. Okay, so I wish you lots of love and light, and I support you in your healing. I validate you in your pain, and I believe you. Okay, so until next time, take care of yourself. Bye for now.